Welcome back, everybody. PlayStation live from E3 2018. Justin and Meredith here, along with Dom, Jeff, and Arjun from Pixel Opus. Thank you guys so much for being here.
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
So we are here to take a new look at Concrete Genie, which got announced a while ago. We haven't seen a ton of gameplay yet. We've seen a lot of cool video clips. We've heard some beautiful music coming out of it. But now we are here to do a gameplay demo. Let's hop right in and take a look.
Start it up.
So would one of you like to just give us a quick explanation of what we're seeing here as we come into this demo?
Well, so Concrete Genie is a game about a boy called Ash who can bring his paintings to life. I think we talked about that at PSX back in December. We did a bit of the demo for how the painting works. And at E3 here, we're going to start showing how more of the gameplay loop is coming together. And so you're trying to revitalize this town called Denska that's had an environmental disaster befall it. And your magical paint can actually bring it back to life and bring the light back to this town. And so that's what we're going to see after this little cutscene that introduces the bullies.
OK, great. Let's take a look.
I love the depth of the color in it. I mean, I know there is a painting element to it, but it really does look like an oil painting in a lot of ways.
Wow, thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah, we really want to make sure that everything feels like it's handcrafted. We put a lot of attention to detail in everything in the world.
Yeah, it shows.
Great.
So these guys are going to be coming back later to make it difficult for you to paint throughout the town.
Making a daring escape.
Yeah. So now this is the bit that we've built in to kind of show how the painting mechanics work.
OK.
And so Arjun's going to just kind of take us through the tutorial. So use the motion controller on the DualShock. So it's super intuitive and really easy to use. Cool. And then the R2 trigger paints whatever you have selected.
It looks magical already. Look at that.
Yeah, we've worked really hard to make it as intuitive and as fun and as joyous as we possibly can. And we want to make sure that anybody who plays it feels like they could be an artist with this game, because that's like a really
I definitely am
part.
I'm not an artist, so I will put this to the test.
Well, and the really fun thing as well, just in this morning, seeing people play the game for the first time, which is, you know, obviously a scary moment for us.
Sure.
Because we've been working so hard to kind of deliver that promise that anybody can make something that looks great with this game. And sure enough, you know, everyone's painting very differently, but it always looks beautiful. And they feel like they did it, which is really, really important.
So good reactions so far.
Yeah, so far, really good reactions, yeah.
We want every paint stroke to feel like it's almost like hand animated and comes to life. And Arjun's one of our engineers, so he's not part of the art department, but a very creative guy. But you can see he's able to paint with ease.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see people paint in different ways. Sometimes they want to paint by you know, putting 100 suns or rainbows, or so you can paint in a very abstract way, or be very delicate about your paintings also.
Yeah.
And this is another key component. So it's not just making landscapes. You can make your own creatures as well.
Oh, OK.
And they have a lot of gameplay purpose, depending on how you paint them. The color gives them innate abilities as well. So the red creatures have fire abilities, and they can help you solve puzzles. And we're going to see a bit of that coming up later as well. And then depending on all the attachments that you add onto them, it gives them different personalities as well.
Oh, OK.
And so that's a kind of fun thing to discover.
Kind of like those antlers that he's putting on.
Yeah. And you can, again, you can add onto it however you want to. And then you get to bring them to life and start making this cast of friends to kind of explore the world with you.
And once he's brought to life, you can no longer edit him, or he's really alive within the game.
Ah, OK. Good to know.
And these lights that you see on the walls, this is how we kind of quantify painting in the world, because we don't want to judge what you're actually creating. So the game doesn't sit there and say, hey, you're painting well, you're painting badly. We just have these lights up, and as you paint, it turns the lights on. And so when you've brought all the lights back to life, that's when you've completed this section of the world as well.
So you kind of have an idea, instead of just being set loose in this giant empty world and not really knowing where to go, it gives you a little bit of direction that way.
Now, can you paint on any of the surfaces in the game, or are there only specific surfaces where the paint will work?
You can paint on any of the walls anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And you know, that was another hope, was that everybody's game would look different, which is really important. So you have this kind of more custom, unique experience. And sure enough, everybody's games that we've seen playing the demo today, completely different. And all the creatures are completely different as well.
So go ahead.
Yeah, even how you paint the creature changes their animation. So if you paint the creatures horizontally, they act more like animals. They'll howl and scratch at the ground. And,
wow.
Yeah.
And this is how they communicate with you. So we wanted to make sure that the relationship that you have with your creature has some depth to it. And they'll ask you for things. In this case, he wants a fire pit. And as far as the creatures are concerned, you're just making a home for them whenever you're painting these landscapes. And so now he wants some dandelions. And once you do the things that they ask, they'll start giving you things in return as well. And so when the creatures are happy with you like this, they can actually charge up your brush.
Super paint.
And give you super paint, yeah.
Thanks, pal.
So what's the super paint do?
Well, so as I mentioned earlier on, there's this environmental disaster that's kind of befallen this fishing town, which is why everybody's moved away. And this darkness that covers the walls can only be burnt off by your supercharged paint. And it clears it off in this very magical fashion.
Wow.
But super paint is also kind of painting writ large, so it's kind of overcharged. Everything's bigger, brighter, larger when you paint with super paint as well.
Okay, so it says we've completed 1 out of 3 zones. Is that kind of what the progression is going to look like as you complete
per
zones
level,
and then you move to a different level?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And when you've finished all the different zones in the level, the masterpiece beacon is illuminated. And there's a special location within each level where you get to go and paint a huge masterpiece. And that's how you kind of wrap up each level.
That I feel some echoes of Entwined in there, because it was kind of a similar thing where at the end you got to just kind of like go nuts and form. And,
that's right. And actually, it's the same button gesture to activate super paint as it was to turn into the dragon in Entwined as well. Yeah.
Now, are the creatures that you created in Zone 1, are they then contained to the world of Zone 1, or do the creatures follow you into other levels?
They don't. They're actually landlocked. It's part of the level design. And so there's different places where you can paint and create these creatures throughout the world. But they stay there. And, we thought about, do we want them to come with you the whole time? And actually, it's nice to miss them, And when you come back to them, they're happy to see you. And so you kind of remember where they are. And they'll always help you when you go back to them as well. So we've actually found that that's been a better balance.
Hey, over here.
So that was a really cool example of how the painting interacts with the world and kind of opens up pathways for you to kind of burn down that door there using, that was his firepower.
That was his fire abilities, yeah.
What are some other ways that the paintings can interact with the environment?
So as you progress through the different levels, you unlock different colors. And those different creatures have other abilities. And we've tried to make them very intuitive and elemental. So yellow creatures have electricity. And I'm not going to give away too many of the other ones, but you'll unlock them as you go through the game.
Now, we just got a prompt about escaping bullies on this level.
So they're about to come and start hounding and making life difficult for Ash. So these are the bad guys in the game. And you saw them in the cutscene earlier on. And so as the game has kind of opened up into this mini open neighborhood. And they're landlocked as well, so they stay at the street level, but the rooftops is Ash's space. And so he has a kind of agile platforming moveset, and he can clamber up to the rooftops and get up there and get away from them and try and avoid them and lure them around the level. So that's the thing that's putting pressure on you, is you're trying to cover this space with your artwork.
Let's see.
And what was that he just
found a brush. So before this chunk of gameplay, the bullies have stolen his sketchbook, and they've ripped all the pages out and scattered them into the wind.
I remember that from the reveal trailer.
That's right. And so they're kind of floating around as well, gives you something to chase. But you get this cool gameplay reward every time you catch one, which is a new painting technique.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And do those affect the gameplay in tangible ways as well, or are they more just kind of stylish?
They do, because the creatures really want you to paint specific things at certain points. So there's a handful of brushes that you have to find in each level.
Okay.
And then at the masterpiece painting at the end, you'll get to use all of them to bring to life the final kind of destination. So he wants a cherry tree brush, which Arjun has thankfully just found.
You just paint it right there for him.
Yeah.
You can see we have over 3 levels of animation when you paint a tree. And we really want to give the person the feeling that it's coming alive, like a moving illustration. And when the bullies come around your artwork, it actually changes it freezes and loses all its color. Sort of a manifestation of how Ash feels when he's being bullied.
I see.
So do you have to repaint all those places when the bullies come through?
No, so when they leave the area, it comes back to life.
Gotcha.
It's meant to reflect his mood, but it's also the fact that they can't see it as alive because they don't have the imagination to see it. So when they're around, it completely kind of dies and desaturates, and the creatures get frozen as well.
I see. I predict that will have some gameplay implications in terms of the puzzles and all that.
Absolutely.
So that painting mechanic is really, really robust, but also seems very accessible. How many iterations did you go through before you landed on the version of that felt just right?
We've had several attempts at getting to the place we're at now, and it wasn't until we let you really freely paint with a cursor that we felt that we'd answered that kind of player expectation and that fantasy of making you feel like an artist. And so, that was our third kind of stab at it. And then we've had about a year and a half since then to have it manifest into the game that you see right now.
Now, I know the music is really important, but it sounds to me, and I know it's a little loud here in the convention center, but it sounds to me as if each brushstroke has a different tone associated with it.
That's right. So this is something that we've been working on this year as well, just to help encourage every player to keep painting. Each brush has its own melodic instrument attached to it. And so, kind of like Entwined as well, we care deeply about our dynamic soundtrack. And Sam Marshall, our audio director and composer, has designed this amazing system where each brush has its own sound, and it plays in the same key as the soundtrack, and it's perfectly in time with the music as well. So when you're painting, you feel like you're contributing to the soundtrack as well.
It seems like quite the engineering feat as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, music is so important.
It really is.
Creating a really emotional gaming experience, I think.
We've designed levels within the world where you can just kind of sit and paint and spend time composing whatever you'd like. And it's really nice because you can have the action part, but you can also take time to make really beautiful little compositions for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And on the note of the music, I remember there was a song that we released from the PGW trailer?
Yeah, that's right, from Paris.
Yeah, and that was such a beautiful song. I'm really looking forward to hearing more of the music in the game.
Absolutely. We're so lucky to have Sam on board, and he's been with us since the very beginning of the project, which we think makes a huge difference. Having somebody representing and speaking about the audio from the very initial design is what enables us to have it so thoroughly integrated into the gameplay. And Sam contributes to the design of the game as well, which is great. And you can see the creature reacting to everything that Arjun's painting as well. So they're kind of like an in-game audience for you.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll try and kind of, they'll pick up the dandelions and blow them, or eat the apples, hide behind the trees, or sit down by the campfire and things like that.
Do the creatures interact with each other as well as interact with Ash?
Yeah, they do. And as the game progresses and the puzzles get more complicated, you might need creatures with different sets of abilities to combine and solve things as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can see we've added a fair bit of color to this dreary landscape.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we're coming up on time here, but is there anything else any other cool stuff that we wanted to check out before we let you go?
I think that's all the basics that we wanted to cover, yeah.
Okay, great, cool. Any final message for the fans watching at home or for our fans out in the audience here?
Well, we just can't wait for people to get their hands on it. And thank you for being patient as well while we're finishing the game, which is great.
Great, cool. Are you talking about a release window or anything like that yet?
Not just yet. Not just yet, but TBD.
Well, you're making excellent progress. Meredith, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'll be waiting for that TBD notice to go out.
Right. Cool. Well, that is Concrete Genie. It is coming to PlayStation 4. Thank you all so much for joining us. The game looks just positively beautiful.
Thank you.
Looks fantastic. So
thanks for having us.
Keep an eye out for that. We'll have more news at PlayStation Blog as we learn more. But stay tuned because we will have more coming up at PlayStation Live from E3 2018.
PlayStation